know a whole bunch of information about the company. So I think it's time we summarize it. We talk about what's going well, and then what kind of things we might have to work on. So this section is SWOT. So a SWOT, as you might remember from some of the courses you've taken, is an analysis of internal and external aspects of your company. So we start with S. S is strengths. So in this section, you're going to talk about what are the internal strengths of your company. Right? This is internal. Oh god. Internal. This is the internal strengths of your company. So this is going to be things like if you have some proprietary technology, if you have something that is unique to you, maybe you already own the building you're in, maybe your equipment is good to go. Like, think about what internal strengths does your company have. And we'll walk through a Yodes-Co example after I explain each of these sections. The next section is weaknesses. This is also internal. I almost did it again. This is also internal. So maybe it takes a really, really long time to grow your pineapples. Okay, well that's a problem. Maybe you have limited inventory, right? Because your factory can only hold so much. So think about the internal weaknesses. The O stands for opportunities. What opportunities are unique to your company? So this is external. And I just switched. External. Right? External factors. Maybe your market is really, really good. Maybe you have some kind of opportunity. Maybe it's a growing field. Things like that. So think of external opportunities. For T, T is threats. Right? What could threaten your business? So these, again, are external. So you can kind of see that the first two are going to be internal. You're going to kind of analyze the strengths and weaknesses internally. Maybe you have a really strong management team, but maybe you lack a management, right? Management. Maybe you lack like a marketing personnel on your staff right now. So that's weaknesses are things that you're going to just want to look to improve as your businesses grow, right? You're not a perfect company. You will have weaknesses. You will have threats. You are not in an infallible business, right? So you just need to be real, because weaknesses, threats, we can kind of combat those, right? There's ways that you can kind of change your company or kind of add things to your company as you grow, that the weaknesses and threats aren't really like something that could destroy your business, right? So you don't want nothing in the weaknesses and threats. Make sure it's all about equal, right? You have just as many weaknesses as you do strengths, even if maybe at first glance it doesn't look like it, right? So, Yodes-Co. Yodes-Co performed a SWOT, and we figured out kind of like what our strengths were, what our weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, Yodes-Co strengths, we own the land. That's a big deal, because land is kind of pricey. So we already owned the land. One of the founding members had that. We have very fancy technology to monitor pineapple growth. So we have a little system that we set up along the factory lines, and it just kind of makes sure that each pineapple is getting enough water, that the soil has enough nutrients, kind of factors like that, right? That kind of makes us unique, right? That's one of the competitive, that's part of the competitive analysis that Yodes-Co would probably write. For weaknesses, for example, there's only so much pineapple we can grow, right? Because you have to space pineapple out a certain amount of feet for them to grow successfully. So if I had a demand for 40,000 pineapples, but my field could only grow 35, I'd probably be a little limited. And it also takes a good amount of time for pineapples to grow. And so those are kind of like weaknesses that Yodes-Co has. So for some opportunities, we have a very like active local market, local health market. Right? So we have a growing market. A lot of people eat fresh fruit in Atlantis. There is really no pineapple companies right now, no local ones, so this is kind of like fitting in a little niche. And then for threats, we have, some pretty extreme competition. I mean, Dole is a huge company. so we do have them to kind of worry about. So just kind of think like, oh, a big one, before I almost forget, weather. Pineapples have to grow outside. I can't control the weather, so if the weather goes south, it's going to affect how many pineapples I make, and then ultimately how many pineapples hit the shelves. So I can't control that, so it's an external factor, so it's just kind of like something else for you to think about. Also with threats, think like, are there resources? Maybe there's a really good active like pineapple seed market nearby that I can pull from, or maybe there isn't. So just kind of think about those different factors. The recommended length for this is going to be a little chart-looking thing. I didn't explain that very well, so I'll draw a picture. So our recommendation is that you make like a little PowerPoint slide, and a template will be provided for you, but you can also make your own. And you kind of get 4 little boxes over here. You'll have the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. You can't really see that T, but it's there. And then you're just going to have little bullet points, right? Just kind of list them out. What are your strengths? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? So I could very simply just write competition, weather. Kind of like I have it listed up here, except you're going to have it in this cool little box form. Some people make it colorful, and they make like threats red and like strengths green, you know, to kind of color code it. That's not necessary, but it is kind of fun. So just kind of make whatever format makes sense to you, kind of describe the SWOT. Bullet points, totally okay. If you wanted to write paragraphs, you're more than welcome to, but it's also nice to just kind of break up all of those long paragraphs that the investors have been reading and kind of just provide them a nice little graph. So yeah, do with that what you will. This is the SWOT analysis.